Hey folks, Ardwulf here. We have a special unboxing here today. This is Fall Blau, Army Group South, June to December 1942. This is a game from Greg Blanchett from Compass Games, and thanks and a big shout out to Compass Games for sending me this. I have the follow-up to this by the same designer, Kharkov Battles, and the two games can be linked. So this sold out pretty quickly. I think the talk was that they weren't going to reprint it, and then Kharkov Battles came out and they said, oh, no, we're going to reprint that. So this is the reprinted edition. It is in the standard 2-inch Compass Games box, and it feels pretty full. And I had a little bit of trouble getting everything back in the box once the counters were sorted and organized with Kharkov Battles. Now, the Kharkov Battles is a standalone, just so that we're being clear here, but there's a scenario or two in there that can be linked with Fall Blau. And this thing contains, does it give us a rundown of the contents back here? No, it does not. Playing time, less than 1 hour and up to about 45 hours. That's obviously the campaign. Mid-level complexity, I would agree with that. Pretty high solitaire suitability. Now, the reason for that, and 980 counters, which is not a huge number, but there are components on here. 980 counters, half-inch, 34 by 30, 22 maps, two smaller maps. One of the reasons for the high solitaire suitability is that this is a system based on the classic Victory in the West system from SPI. That is a system that has both hidden and random. Beat it. You've already disrupted enough unboxing videos for today. That was Satine. Check out the other unboxing video in which she makes a guest appearance and disrupts the entire process. Victory in the West system has hidden random unit strength counters that are kept under the primary counters. So it's a very robust system. It has had an enduring influence. It traces its lineage quite a way back into the history of SPI. So let's open her up and give it a look and see what we got here. Victory in the West gave us all West Front stuff. One of the, weird things is that a bunch of other publishers and designers have picked up on Victory in the West and used it as kind of the foundation of new designs, except the folks who have the rights to Victory in the West, which I found to be weird. So there's one 10-sided die. There's a bag of baggies, which I will find a use for somewhere at some point. And then let's kind of roll through the maps. All right, so now that we've dealt with the off-camera emergency, let's bust out one of the maps. Now this is, looks like just about the southernmost part of the map, and down here we have part of the Caucasus and some tables. There's a TEC on here, Soviet naval losses, Caucasus Zone special cases, and you can see Grozny down here. So there's, it's a nice looking map, and I'm not sure that this this is one of the smaller maps. I'm not sure that this is really doing it justice. So let's take a look at this one, which I believe to be a dedicated scenario map, which is always nice to see. Single-sided on this one, at least. So you can get a sense of course, it's upside down. You can get a sense of what this looks like. And it's a nice-looking map. It's on a medium-weight map counter stock, I would say, that... It feels pretty good. It's got a bit of a satin finish going on. But we do have 3 full-sized maps and 2 smaller maps, 3 smaller maps actually. I think there's 2 smaller maps that actually link to the rest of the thing, and then this scenario map. So the list of the contents on the back of the box was actually selling it a bit short. So there's plenty in here, right? Interesting looking system. Here's the rule book. It is full color, glossy paper. Some illustrations, but not heavily illustrated. And you can actually see the full map layout. So you got the 3 full-size maps, plus you got the sort of extensions for the parts of the Caucasus. Notoriously difficult to fit on maps for games that just handled that. Here's the sequence of play. It's pretty straightforward. You have a preparation phase, the Axis player turn, which is movement and combat, and then the Soviet player turn, which has a command phase, a construction phase, a movement phase, and a combat phase. So it's asymmetrical, at least up to a point. This is a 32-page rulebook and contains I mean, having looked at this already, I would definitely call this a medium complexity game. There's about 20 pages of rules, 19, most of 19 pages of rules. And then we get designer's notes from designer Greg Blanchett. We've got some Q&A stuff here, which is pretty cool. And then we are here onto the credits. Contributors Mark Simonich. Didn't realize that. I'm not sure what Mark Simonich's contribution was here. The map and box cover is by Kurt Grunitz and Brian Miller. I think the counters are by Knut Grunitz as well. Based on the Operation Typhoon game designed by Joe Angiolillo Jr. and Joe Balkowski, Classics SPI title. And that's one of the predecessors of Victory in the West. But I feel like this actually hews closer mechanically, and I could be wrong about this. I'm willing to be corrected. Please do so in the comments. A little closer to the Victory in the West system proper, the 3 S&T magazine games that they did. So we have some one-map scenarios: attack of the 1st Panzer Army, drive to Voronezh, clearing the Don Bend, the Nalchik Orges operation of that at that place, Operation Uranus, of course, and to the gates of Stalingrad. And then there's multi-map campaigns. This is the full campaign stretching from 28 June to 25 December 1942. I didn't see a turn record track on the maps, but I didn't unfold all the maps. Historical July campaign, Caucasus campaign. Here's a list of references, so there's a decent bibliography. Related games include Drive on Stalingrad, Edelweiss from Clash of Arms, which is a recent pickup for me, 48th Panzer Corps from PRP, I'm going to have to look at that, Campaign to Stalingrad from Rhino Games, Stalingrad Pocket 1 and 2 from the Gamers, Taman 42, Just Plain War Games 1993, might need to take a look at that as well, Vintergewitter, ATO LPS, that appeared in Against the Odds magazine, Case Blue, obviously, which is pretty much, this is, the same subject matter and time frame as Case Blue. And Caucasus Campaign from GMT. So that's the rule book. It's quite a nice rule book. Now for clarity here, the map scale is divisions and brigades, and the hexes I think are 6.5 miles or something like that. So we've got a pile of player aids. Let's take a look at that. But here's something I didn't know would be in here. This may be something new in the second printing, although I'm not sure that's the case since it says updated 18 December. This is a Fall Blau Frequently Asked Questions, which is pretty great. There's a whole booklet of this. And these are like Q&A, and it looks like there's errata in here too, and there's a fair amount of errata, but nothing jumps out at me as broken errata. So that's good. A lot of the errata amounts to clarifications too. And then there's a huge Q&A section. So I'm glad they included this. It's not 10 pages of errata. This is probably a 12-page booklet. It's not 12 pages of errata. A lot of it is clarifications and stuff. So we've got a decent number of player aids here. And clearly we're intended to use the sort of reddish tone ones. I'm not sure how well you're going to make out the color difference on camera. One thing I found in previous unboxing videos in this exact environment was that you can actually tell color differences better in the video than I can actually looking at them, which I found amusing. But clearly the sort of gray is the Germans and the sort of red is the Soviets. So we've got dead piles here. Here's our turn record track. As you can see, if you're playing the whole campaign, and these are on a pretty nice, hefty satin finish cardstock. There's a hefty number of turns, and I want to say these are 2 or 3 day turns. That looks approximately correct. And then on the back of that, you have turn record tracks for the various scenarios, which are all quite a bit shorter, as you can imagine. Here is the terrain effects chart. Decent number of different terrain types on here, and on the back of that, you have a unit identification chart and the locations of various cities, which is nice because they're listed in alphabetical order rather than in some obscure order that will make them harder to find. Here is a German display which contains tracks for victory points and replacements. That's single-sided. Here's the combat tables. Mobile assault table, there's an attrition table, Soviet naval loss table, which we already saw. There's abbreviations used in the setup charts. Some games leave that out, and that's really irritating because I don't know them. I mean, I know what NKVD was. GRC, for example, I could figure that out. But some of these will not necessarily be obvious. These don't look too bad, actually, but I'm glad they put that in nevertheless. And on the back is the prepared assault table. We also get, as we got in Kharkov Battles, which I believe you should check out my unboxing video on that, even though it was like 2 years ago now. We have setup cards. Here's the Axis setup for the campaign. On the back of that, we have the Axis setup for the Caucasus campaign scenario. To the Gates of Stalingrad, Soviet setup and reinforcements. Operation Uranus Soviet setup. There's more of these too. There's a quick reference sheet. And these are on, I feel like they're on a heavier type of cardstock than we typically see. Is there two of them here? No. So here's a quick reference sheet. That's always nice. Here is some Soviet-related tables. The weather table, the Soviet command and control table, Soviet Army commitment number. I'm not sure how that works. Here's the more scenario setup cards. Here is an 11 by 17 scenario setup card. And again, this is on the same thick stuff. So Caucasus campaign, Soviet setup and reinforcements. On the back of that, we have the Fall Blau campaign, Soviet setup. Here we have more 11 by 17 scenario setup cards. You could probably have split the last one, but this one you can't. You'll see it when I flip it over for the individual scenarios, and then quite a few here. These are half-inch counters. We'll take a look at the counters in a moment. The counters are going to require a bit of care because, like the counters in Kharkov Battles, the counters are those kind of counters that just really yearn to be free, and they will burst forth from the counter sheet at somebody farts in the room. So a lot of player aids here. There's a lot of stuff here. At a glance, it looks like you can get 2 counter trays in this box, which I believe is in line with Kharkov Battles as well. So there are 4 counter sheets, and we are going to be punching and clipping this boy pretty soon, actually. I also want to say that the counters in Kharkov Battles were like the extra thick counters that actually had a little bit of trouble fitting into my clipper. I did manage it, and actually I think I ended up buying another deluxe organ laminations clipper specifically for that, because that'll accommodate thicker counters. And boy, was that a lot of wear and tear on my wrists, because they're, like I said, they're real thick. So we are attempting to, we've already had an incident today where counters have gone flying all over the room, and I had to crawl around on my hands and knees picking them up. I do not wish that to happen again. All right, so we've got units here. They appear to be Axis units. Compass Games 2016. Artwork by Knut Grunitz and Greg Blanchett, who is the designer. And these are mostly double-sided counters, but some of them don't have actual stuff on the back side because these are presumably single-step units. So the letters kind of indicate the sort of quality class of the unit. I forget what the actual game terminology is for this. And that determines, we'll see when we see the randomized strength chits, which are right here. So let's say we have this German motorized infantry regiment right here. It's an A unit, and 10 I believe to be the movement points. So when you draw a random chit, these are the random chits, you'll keep that under the unit. You won't even draw the chit till the unit actually fights. So there's an untried unit element here as well. So you see it's A here, so you'll use the A value on the strength chit. And then when the unit takes a step loss, you flip the strength chit over, and it's a lighter color, so you can like obviously see visually which side it's on. You'll see that the numbers go down, right? So 4 counter sheets, really 3.5. This is only a half counter sheet, so I guess I'll have to figure out something to do with all these extra counters, but I'm sure I can come up with something. Registration on these looks, the gutters look really tight, but I see no significant registration problems. The back side is perfectly registered, and the front side up at the top looks perfectly registered, and then these are slightly off, but like I said, not anything worrying. These would be Soviet units, of course. The colors indicate the formation or whatever level it is that we're talking about that the unit is tied to. And then, if I'm not mistaken, these are the headquarters. These are the Army level headquarters that the Soviets will use. So really neat looking game system. Can't wait to get one or both of these actually to the table at the earliest opportunity. I believe designer Greg Blanchett has some more titles using this same system in the works, and I, for one, am pretty excited to see what he comes up with. So when we say this is like Case Blue but smaller, it ain't that much smaller. It is a slightly smaller scale, 6.5 miles to the hex instead of 5 miles to the hex. But it's still at 3 maps, it's still a pretty big game. But you're getting a good selection of small, including single map scenarios as well. So I feel like this is one of the really solid, and Kharkov battles for that matter, a really solid, relatively recent release from Compass. And I think this is 2016, actually. And I didn't pay much attention to it at the time. And then I started talking to people and hearing, really good, positive things about it. So very happy to add this to the library. Once again, thank you, Compass Games, for sending it my way. Hopefully you have found this video valuable. I will have to edit the crap out of it in post-processing. So, because we did have a flying counters tragedy that occurred. And it was more or less the cat's fault, although I knocked the counter tray over. So I want to give a shout out to the patrons of Ardwulf Lair, without whom the support and encouragement, it would be impossible to do all this stuff. So thank you, patrons. If you'd like to do more to help support the channel, you are supporting the channel just by watching the videos and commenting and thumbs up and subscribing and all that jazz. If you want to do some more, you can check out any of the various show support links in the video description. The best way to do that is through the Patreon. So thank you, patrons. Thank you for watching. And until next time, happy wargaming.